Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Around the nation right here, Jeff Waldorf here with you on this Friday evening. Welcome to the show. We're going to have a little bit of fun. It's Fun Friday. That's just something that I just made up. It's not like a theme or something, but we're going to have some fun. Let me give you some examples of the breakdown. But first, before we do that, I want to welcome everyone to the show. Glad to be here. Wasn't here yesterday. Had a lot of stuff to do. Unfortunately, so I couldn't actually get enough time to get the show prepared and everything like that. So, but hey, we're here now, and it's going to be a lot of fun. First of all, let me thank Elwell for the super chat here. She says happy Friday. Well, happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to everybody out there. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah, man, it's been a pretty good day. So. Good day for me. It's been a great, actually, couple of days for me. Not so much for the country, but the day has actually been pretty good. So, I mean, hey, you know. I guess when you don't pay attention to the destruction of the country, you can actually have a good day, and that's part of what I did yesterday. But anyway, now, speaking of the destruction of the country, or at least the disaster that is Donald Trump, we're going to be talking about Donald Trump Twitter. That's fun. We've got Chuck Grassley defending Trump's taxes and getting destroyed. Fun. Then some telltale signs that the Trump economy is starting to peter out. Finally, which is not good for election. So we'll talk about that. Then we have AOC and Paul Ryan. That's a fun story. And then you'll never guess who's back. Herman Cain. Oh my God. You're going to love the Herman Cain story. That is a name I have not heard in a long time. And it's going to be fun to dunk on him again. So again, this is going to be a great show, guys. So stick around for the next hour. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. I want to give a shout out to some patrons here. Let's start out with Jane Ferry. Kevin Broom, Lelaine Williams, Pan Ferguson, Claudia May, Frank Tenzer, Ramiro Lopez, and Thomas May. So those are, yeah, I think those are the ones. I don't know. I've got a lot of patrons, so I'm trying to make sure that I get to everybody, but I don't know if I'm repeating myself a lot. I think I am. So I'm going to keep working on that and getting you the best patron numbers, or not numbers, sorry, but the best patron names. Like, not even that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to speak clearly today, and I seem to be having a problem. But I want to make sure to get you, the shout outs to the people that I haven't had a shout out yet. So, and thank you guys for supporting independent progressive media. So it's one of those days, but still we're going to have fun. And let's move on. Let's go to the first story here, and we will do just that. Let's go with Twitter. Okay. Anyway. Now, if it's one thing President Trump can't quit, it's Twitter. A new report from Vanity Fair's Gabriel Sherman is now claiming that President Trump is continuing to resist calls from his top campaign advisors to basically dial back on his tweets. Now, the reason for that is that apparently he has some terrible poll numbers, and so some of his high-level advisors, including his campaign manager, are like, "Hey man, ixnay in the tweet nay, okay? You need to roll back on that. Maybe stop attacking Gold Star families." Maybe stop attacking dead people, including Barbara Bush. I mean, let's roll it back, guys. According to Sherman, Trump's campaign has found that the president has, quote, very bad polling numbers, and that would be the reason why, headed into the 2020 election. So bad that campaign chief Brad Parscale, according to Raw Story, advised him to quit tweeting so much. Oh, man. Those internal poll numbers, they've got to be really bad. I mean, disastrously bad for them to be like, pull that back, dude. No, no, stop. Just stop. Like, hands off the iPhone, okay? Put it down. Put it down. Stop. It's got to be bad, right? Now, of course, you might say, but yeah, look, Jeff, we're pretty far away from the election, right? And so it doesn't really matter as much. You know, polls can be wrong. Look at Hillary Clinton. Polls were wrong. Look, I don't know. For Trump, I think it's a little different now. I mean, and yes, polls, depending on methodology, can be unreliable, especially when you're out pretty far. Nonetheless, if your internal polling is so bad that you're thinking, God, the president needs to do something, well then, look, it seems that they are themselves fairly confident in those numbers. And I wouldn't be surprised because, look, the president hasn't broken 50% approval rating his entire presidency so far. He just hasn't. I mean, look, his polling is terrible. There is one person, I think, in the world that is polling worse, in politics, I should say, than President Donald Trump. And that, of course, is Hillary Clinton. Look, man, that's a disaster. That is a disaster, and it tells you a lot. And besides, again, if Brad Parscale is telling him, hey, you got to cool down on the Twitter, that's really, really bad. Again, assuming this report is correct. And look, Sherman has done a lot of great reporting and has a lot of good sources inside the White House. I think most of the people that are left inside of the White House are just doing it, are there to be, you know, to elevate their own political careers, and are more than happy to leak to the media. And Donald Trump himself is more than happy to leak to the media. So, anyway, now Parscale says, hey, Trump, you got to cool it on Twitter a little bit. Your numbers with women are disastrous, and we should focus on the economy, maybe the accomplishments, you know, and just kind of let things sort of play out without you stoking a brand new controversy every single day. Trump's response is, again, classic Donald Trump. Brad went to him, and Trump's response was like 40 tweets, according to Sherman's source. Those tweets included attacking the late John McCain and retweeting people involved in the QAnon conspiracy. Let me give you a sampling here. Trump tweeted, "So it was indeed just proven in court papers, last of his class, Annapolis John McCain, that sent the fake dossier to the FBI and media hoping to have it printed before the election. He and the Dems, working together, failed as usual. Even the fake news refuses garbage." Last of his class. You talk about last of your class. You won't release your transcripts from college because you're afraid that will show that you are so dumb, that you were you were super stupid. Super stupid. You're incredibly dumb. Okay, moving on. Now, again, he also retweeted a user with the moniker VB Nationalist. A user's avatar is a Q, apparently in reference to the QAnon conspiracy with a MAGA hat on it. That user also has promoted both QAnon and Pizzagate conspiracy theories. That's fun. So they ask him not to tweet. And he says, oh yeah, I'm going to tweet my response. I'm going to tweet 40 tweets. It's called Twitter, not Quitter. What do I keep saying? He can't help himself. He doesn't care about strategy. Again, Brad Parscale's like, this might help your strategy if you stop distracting the American people with tweets. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Nothing will keep him from accessing his beloved Twitter account. Despite so many Americans and even Trump supporters saying, hey, maybe the tweets kind of get in your way and you probably shouldn't do that. Look, I know this was back in 2017, right? But there are a lot of polls. One of them is a Quinnipiac poll, right? Now, this showed that 70% of Americans polled said, Donald Trump, stop tweeting. You're hurting the country. Like, please stop. Now, it's 2019 now. I can't imagine those numbers have gotten better. Not for Trump. No, I can imagine those numbers have gotten even worse. And I don't think anybody would be surprised. I don't know. I haven't seen a follow-up. But, you know, interestingly enough, the 70% said don't tweet. There's still that solid 30% that's like, yes, Twitter. Of course. Which is about the amount of the country that the president has on his side. That will never leave. Of course. Sad. Okay. Let's move on. Let's go to Chuck Grassley. So House Democrats have launched a request to get a hold of Donald Trump's tax returns using a little bit of an obscure rule. They're asking for the president. They're not just asking, but they're demanding that they see at least 6 years of President Donald Trump's tax returns. Now, Republicans are, of course, massively against this, which is strange because there are a lot of Republican voters that also would be interested in seeing this. As well as, you know, the Mueller report was something completely different, of course. So now the Republicans in charge, including Senator Chuck Grassley, not interested in having the Democrats be able to read Donald Trump's tax returns and talk about them. And he came out on video saying this. Watch.
If the effort to get the president's tax returns isn't part of a grand reform effort, as they'd have us believe, then what is it motivated by? I want to tell you what it's motivated by. It's motivated by the Democrats' intense dislike of this president. It's motivated by their frustration over losing an election that they thought that they'd easily win. It's motivated by their desire to use all of the resources at their disposal to find something, anything, to bring this president down.
You know, I don't think they actually have to do that. The president's doing a pretty good job of bringing himself down, my opinion. But no, okay. So, see, they want to look at his tax returns in order to find something embarrassing so we can, you know, get the president on something to bring him down. Wait, are you saying that there's something, you think there's something in Trump's taxes that will bring him down? Do tell, Senator Grassley. Do tell. No, look, here's what the Democrats actually are busy doing when it comes to blaming the loss to Donald Trump. They're blaming Bernie Sanders. They're blaming progressives. They're continuing to do the same thing that they've been doing for the last couple of years, right? No, look, here's the thing. They should actually look at the fact that they put up probably one of the worst Democrats they could against Donald Trump, somebody who was losing in the polls. So let's not get away from that fact, right? No, the whole deal about Trump's tax returns is that we think that he is both a liar and possibly a criminal, and that those tax returns might show stuff in there that could connect him to literal crimes, like, for example, money laundering. Maybe, or at least hiding from taxes, tax evasion, right? Now, they also, interestingly, might show that President Trump is not as rich as he claims to be, and therefore not really a winner, but kind of a loser, which I think is what Donald Trump is most afraid of. He's not afraid of people finding out his crimes. He's not smart enough to cover up his crimes, and he's also not smart enough to realize that he won't get caught, or that he, you know, like, he thinks that he won't get caught. And the reason that he thinks that, of course, is because he's been a lifelong criminal. And so he thinks, I'll never get caught. So it doesn't even cross his mind, right? Doesn't even cross his mind. Now, and I think, again, him not being as rich as he claims to be, that is what Trump's afraid of, because, again, it shows that he's a loser. Now, I think he should have to release his taxes. I'm not buying that President Trump is again under audit. He said that earlier. And look, by the way, I think all presidential candidates should release their taxes. I'm a Bernie Sanders fan. I think Bernie Sanders needs to release his taxes too. I think they're probably boring, like he keeps saying. Maybe he made a bunch of money selling books. Ooh, wow. I know, and the so-called centrists, which really aren't really all that centrist or right-wing, are going to say, oh, look, Bernie Sanders, he's socialist, but he made all this money selling books. Oh, terrible. I don't know. I don't know if that's why he's, I think, dragging his feet on this, but just release your taxes. They are probably boring. Who cares, right? But at least I'm consistent on that, right? So now, of course, social media had a little fun with this. Now, Catherine Witt-Thomas says, and Republicans' desire to get the entire Starr report was motivated by their obsession with consensual blowjobs. That was, of course, during the Clinton era. You could probably make a little bit of a comparison between the Starr report and the Mueller report, in which Bill Barr wrote up a 4-page, basically summary out of a 300-page report. The Republicans released the entire Starr report to everybody, but yet they won't release the entire Mueller report to everyone? That's weird. And it might actually be not so good for Donald Trump. Apparently, I hear that they were split. Mueller's team was on obstruction of justice. So, okay. Now, Joyce Armington says, please, for the love of God, retire. Agreed. Greg Bogus says, tilting at windmills, Grassley. So that's, of course, a reference to windmill noise causes cancer, to which Grassley had called Trump an idiot, basically, on that. He said that was a super dumb thing to say. Cam McCoy says, look, Grassley, I'm a Republican, and I want for Trump's tax returns to be seen by Congress. To say otherwise is not to fulfill your oath. Now, look at that. There is a principled Republican. That's great. I think we should, again, demand transparency from all of our leaders. And so, yeah, I agree. Now, Vonnie says every president showed their tax returns. Trump is not exempt from it. So sit down and put a sock in it, Grassley. It's weird how he continues to defend the president, at least on this. Bonnie says, sorry, old dude, it's happening. Pam brings up a great point. She says Obama had to show everyone his birth certificate. It's only fair. Actually, it wasn't even fair to President Obama to have to show his birth certificate. He only did so because of the birther movement, which was led in part by Donald Trump, who kept asking for the birth certificate. I'm sending a team down to Hawaii to go and find out Obama's birth certificate to see if he's American and not Kenyan. Yeah. Okay, anyway. Now, Jay Silv says, how dare they, checks notes, demand that even the most basic level of accountability from the President of the United States. I love that. Bob Montrose pointed out something that I actually pointed out earlier. So his tax returns will destroy him? That seems to be like what he accidentally admitted. And I think that's interesting. If you release the tax returns, the Democrats just want to find something to bring Trump down, and the tax returns will do it. But wait a minute. Are you sure you want to admit that? Are you sure you want to say that? You might want to go back and kind of amend that and say, I didn't mean that there's anything in the tax returns. I don't know. I haven't seen them. Well, you know what? Maybe we should see them. Just saying. Erica Werner says, Grassley is on the floor railing against Dems for seeking Trump's tax returns. Quote, they dislike him with a passion, and they want his tax returns to destroy him. That's all this whole process is about, and it's Nixonian to the core. So again, are you making, are you comparing Donald Trump to Richard Nixon? Richard Nixon, who resigned in shame after scandal? Again, that's going to be a bad comparison. I wouldn't quite go there. Tanya says, yet if there's nothing wrong with his taxes, why so scared? If he did nothing wrong, there's nothing to hide, says Jonathan Bahena. And LJ Frank says, Nixon released his tax returns while under audit and without a subpoena during Watergate. This president should have released his tax returns voluntarily, like every president since Nixon. The fact that the fact that he still claims, by the way, that he's under the longest audit ever, which again, that's what he's doing. He's like, I'm not going to release them. I'm under audit. You've been under audit for like 3 years. No, you were not under audit. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And it's just kind of hilarious that he tries to continue using that lame excuse for so long. But no, here's the thing about this. This is not a request. This is using the law to now go after it and to get these tax returns. That's why they can only get about 6 years. They're going to see your tax returns. And unfortunately for you, old farts like Grassley are not going to stop it. So it's happening. So President Trump, brace for impact. They're going to see your taxes. Okay. So let's go to something a little bit more serious economically. Okay. So some new economic numbers have come out, and they're not looking so good. According to outplacement firm Challenger Grand Christmas, job layoffs have hit their highest level for the first quarter since 2009. Now, that's right after the, of course, economic downturn caused by the housing crisis. Now, here's some numbers. Layoffs hit 190,410 in the most recently concluded quarter. That is up over 10% from 172,601 in the final quarter of 2018 and up 35.6% from the 140,379 layoffs during the first quarter of last year. So, put plainly, layoffs in the first quarter of 2019 were the highest since the third quarter of 2015. And again, those are not good numbers. Now, look, there's a lot of different things that are affecting this. Part of it is streamlining processes and companies becoming more efficient. Look, when that happens, there are cutbacks. Now, not only that, but they said that consumer behavior and advances in technology are driving many of these cuts. And this is according to Andrew Challenger, vice president of that firm, in a statement. So, look, that stuff, okay, that seems kind of unavoidable, right? So, for example, better technology will always displace workers, right? So, for example, the automobile put the carriage companies out of business and put the people who make the carriages also out of business. But it opened up new jobs in different fields, right? So that's just an economic fact, right? Now, there are some people that also get displaced and some things get eliminated that have no equivalent jobs to it. And so people might end up having to take worse jobs or get retrained. So this is why I think we need some sort of a system in place that will provide maybe a basic income to those whose jobs are eliminated due to technology advancements. I think that'd be a smart thing to do, especially since we're seeing more and more automation. Now, that said, it's not the only cause to some of these job losses, according to Mr. Challenger. Another major driver of the uptick in job cuts, he says, is economic insecurity and fears of an upcoming economic downturn. Wait. So people are thinking, we could have another recession. That's not good. That is a terrible forecast. Now, he also mentioned that companies are reacting to market conditions as much as consumer demand. So, again, it's a mix of different things. But here we have a palpable worry in the markets that there will be a recession. Here we go. Now, as far as market conditions goes, who sets those? Well, it's mainly Congress, right? Congress, yes, and the president has some to do with it as well. And as you can see, some of the decisions that President Trump has been able to make have not worked out well for market conditions, at least in some of the most heavily impacted sectors that are seeing this economic downturn. Now, let's go with some of the numbers here. Now, one of the biggest cuts or places where there's a lot of layoffs is in auto manufacturing, right? So they led the layoffs with about 15,887 jobs that have been cut for this quarter. Now, what goes into making cars? There's a lot of things. There's talk about Donald Trump closing the border with Mexico. A lot of car parts are made in Mexico and shipped up into the United States to go in your car, right? We shut down the border. Literally, you would stop being able to make cars within a week. So all these threats about closing down the border over immigration, that's not smart. That's making people think, wait a minute, are we going to even be able to get the parts to make these cars in a month, in a week? I don't know what's going to happen. Well, let's just cut jobs just in case, right? Now, there's also the Trump tariffs on steel. That was something that President Trump was able to unilaterally do and put tariffs on steel, which, of course, drove up the price for car manufacturing. Now, look, that's, again, not the only thing. That's just one of many factors, but I'm sure part of that is playing a pretty large role. And so, look, even the Trump tax cuts were not enough for companies to really offset any of this stuff, right, on trade. But there's more. On the consumer side, you've got tightening credit, stagnant wages. Those have still not gone up. Higher personal debt, student loan debt, outsourcing, and a lot of this stuff just comes together with the market side to really kind of shape market conditions, right? And so right now, with all that stuff, it looks like the market is starting to falter, which is not good. Now, the reason that it's doing now and didn't do earlier was that the Trump tax cuts were essentially a sugar high, right? So now that sugar high is starting to wear off. So not only did companies not use that to increase hiring or to give substantial raises to their employees, but it turns out they didn't really even invest in their companies. In reality, they spent that money on executive bonuses. Now, 2018, if you can recall some of the other segments that I've done, they saw record stock buybacks as a result of the Trump tax cuts, the GOP tax cuts for the rich. So now, look, again, if you're doing nothing but stock buybacks, which basically does nothing other than inflate the market, inflate the value of your company, but not actually make your company better or more, more successful. It's basically an illusion, and it creates a bubble. And what happens with bubbles? They burst. All right, now, it's not just consumers, auto manufacturers. In fact, you have another industry that saw a lot of cuts here, and that's the energy sector. Energy companies had a total layoff number of 10,548 people. Now, what's interesting about that is that President Trump and the Republican Party deregulated these companies. And it turns out these companies are shedding jobs. Coal is dying as an industry, while wind and solar are getting a lot cheaper. Now, the thing is that President Trump, instead of encouraging these demands that are actually now cheaper than oil and natural gas and coal, are actually trying to stop these industries, wind and solar. In fact, he put tariffs on solar, and he's actually been blocking investment in wind power, likely because he hates windmills. He's like Don Quixote, tilting at windmills. Though in this case, the windmills are not imaginary, they are real, and their sounds don't cause cancer. Now, the fastest growing industry, though, at least before the tariffs, was solar, which employed nearly 250,000 people. They've seen an actual downturn as well. but they're also expected to see an upturn later on this year. So now the solar industry in America right now employs 3 times the amount of people than the coal industry that Trump continues to try to prop up. So look, he's hurting industries that would otherwise be growing and trying to prop up industries that are actually dying and shrinking. So he is not doing an economic miracle, right? He's not doing anything to help the economy. What he's really doing, or been doing, is just helping himself, and the corporations also help themselves, the executives. So now, while market trends, automation, etc., have had a lot to do with these numbers, again, you got to note, Donald Trump and the Republican Party in Congress, look, they've got a significant impact in what we're seeing in the economy today. And going into 2020, I think it might get worse. And if it does get worse, it'll be disastrous for President Trump's reelection campaign, because right now, so far, they have been relying on what was left over from the Obama economy. If that crashes, look, you don't have to be a genius or a political scientist to know that when you have a bad economy and you're running an election, you're most likely not going to win that election when things are going bad. People will turn on you when they see that they're losing money and losing jobs. So that's not going to work out well. And now, one more point I want to add in too, and this is important. This also shows that the Trump tax cuts for big corporations, just like what we saw in the Bush years with the Bush tax cuts, are and always will be a colossal failure for the economy. Okay. All right. I'm going to take a break here. We'll come back. I'm going to read some member comments as well as some super chats. So please, send me your comments and stuff, and I will have fun reading them. And we'll come back right after the break. See you in a couple of minutes around the nation. welcome back to the show. Round the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Okay, so super chats. We have Calvin Darden just sending a super chat with no comment in it. That's fine. That's cool. Thank you very much. A couple of comments here. Let's go back. Let's see. I'm just going to find a good one here. Apparently, Michael Cohen, according to the Siroth, is trying to stay out of jail, and he's offering more information on Trump. But, well, that's weird. Why didn't he offer it already? That's strange. Okay, more. Let's see. I want to do one more member comment. Sarge Tech says, propping up industries that will destroy the environment. WTF. We got to understand, Donald Trump doesn't care about the environment. He thinks global warming is a Chinese hoax, and also doesn't care because he'll be dead by the time climate change affects him anyway. To be fair. Okay, anyway. So thank you for the comments. Thank you for the super chats. Let's jump into our next story here. AOC and Paul Ryan's advice. So on Tuesday, former House Speaker Paul Ryan told an audience that he gave some advice to incoming Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, this advice apparently she did not heed, and he had said that. In fact, I want to show you the video here where he talks about that advice. Let's take a look.
The best advice that I gave myself, that my mom gave me, that others gave me, is you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, use it in that proportion. You come in, ready to go, but you have to know that you don't know everything. There's a lot you can learn from. Listen and apply, and just use the energy that you have with youth. And that was the best advice I got. Brian's already heeding that advice. Actually, I talked to AOC. I talked to her. AOC, everybody calls her AOC. She's a year older than when I came, but she's the youngest person now there. And I gave her just a few little tips about just being a good member of Congress, and I don't think she really listened to a thing I said. Take it easy, just watch things for a while, don't ruffle, see how it works first,
So you heard that advice, right? Oh, kind of keep your head down. Don't ruffle any feathers. Just watch people because, everybody else is smarter than you. Basically, keep your head down, shut up, and vote for tax cuts. Basically, that's what it is. That's Paul Ryan's fantastic advice to AOC. You've got to be kidding me. And then he says, well, she didn't follow it. I don't think she followed it. You damn right she didn't follow it. That's why people like her. That's why people love AOC. Because she's actually not taking that advice. Her first day, maybe even before she even started, I can't remember on the timing, but she showed up with the Sunrise Movement right in the middle of Nancy Pelosi's office fighting for climate change. That's awesome. Guess what? That's actually what we want our representatives to do. Actually stir things up. And actually start different conversations. That's what we want them to do. So, yes, I think she should definitely continue doing what she's doing and ignore the likes of idiot Paul Ryan. Now, that said, social media had a little bit of fun with this as well. Let me see. Let me read some of the better tweets on this. Melissa Blake points out that Paul Ryan is basically every mansplainer, and AOC is every woman who refuses to listen to that nonsense. Can I get an amen? And I've noticed that there's a lot of high-profile people who love AOC, but also don't like Bernie Sanders, even though they're basically the same policy-wise. Essentially. I just always find that fact kind of fascinating. Nonetheless, Richard Jeter says, Paul Ryan seems genuinely upset that AOC wouldn't let him mansplain being in Congress to her. Probably had to rush straight to his gym to explain to a female bodybuilder how she was lifting incorrectly. I love that. Middle-aged Riot said, Paul Ryan is complaining that AOC has not taken his advice about how to conduct herself as the new congresswoman. Paul, it may be because you were the worst Speaker of the House in history. If someone flunks a class, you don't ask to copy their notes. Oh, but you don't understand. Paul Ryan was a policy wonk. Are you kidding me? No, they explained that why Paul Ryan is so successful and why they wanted Paul Ryan in Congress to lead the Republicans is because he was the policy guy. What policy did Paul Ryan push? Other than, of course, basically to gut every kind of social media. I mean, come on, man. Seriously. That his entire basically existence in Congress was to try to stick it to poor people. So, not really interested in Paul Ryan. And interestingly enough, AOC is actually the anti-Paul Ryan. Because she actually is smart, and she actually pushes for policy that helps people. I know, amazing, right? What happens when you don't base your life on an Ayn Rand novel. All right, more. Adam Rifkin points out, oh, does Paul Ryan work for Fox News now? It looks like they've run out of good propaganda creators, and now they're just phoning it in. Politicon said Paul Ryan's advice for AOC, red hats, not lipstick, taxes equals bad, and number 3, get swole. That's great. Let's see. Eric Fernandez says, because if there's anyone AOC should be taking advice from, it's Paul Ryan, who is beloved by many people. Charlotte Clymer, somebody, I don't know if I necessarily agree with her or disagree with her. I think she's one of those anti-Bernie people, but she makes a great point. Even conservatives secretly admit at DC cocktail parties that Paul Ryan was the worst speaker in recent history and maybe all time. The idea that AOC should sit at his feet, kindergarten style, eagerly awaiting his wisdom, is beyond laughable. And I do love that. That is a great point. And then Sir Soap has a great idea. In a way, Paul Ryan's advice is incredibly valuable. Just basically do whatever he tells you. Do the opposite. And Vazabit Banerjee says, nobody should listen to Paul Ryan. A bipartisan thought. I think that's what we can all get behind. And so, look, I love these because basically here you have the internet dunking on Paul Ryan for trying to give ridiculous advice to AOC. I say, don't listen to a word he says, and of course she hasn't, and continue to do what you do best, fight the system, and propose and back up good policy. So, thank you, AOC. Okay. Let's go to Herman Cain. All right. I think you're going to love this one. Let me set up the videos here real quick. Okay. Now, on Thursday, President Trump announced that he was officially nominating pizza CEO and failed GOP presidential nominee Herman Cain for a seat on the Federal Reserve Board. Now, he told reporters at the White House, quote, I've recommended Herman Cain. He's a very terrific man, a terrific person. He's a friend of mine. I have recommended him highly for the Fed. I've told my folks that's the man. Okay, well, that's a pretty high endorsement from the president. So it seems likely that he's going to appoint him to that Fed seat. Now, Herman Cain. That's a name that I have not heard in a long time. Since 2012. Since before the dark times. Before Trump. So, look, I want to go through some of his greatest hits, right? But first, before I do that, I want to give a couple of responses here. Now, this is Greg Mankett saying, quote, and he's a Harvard economist, by the way. Quote, President Trump has no respect for expertise. He's more interested in filling the Fed jobs with political allies than people well suited for the positions. Now, look, he hates the Fed right now. He hates got rid of Janet Yellen because they wanted to raise interest rates. Now, look, you lower interest rates when the economy is bad. You raise them when the economy is better. So interest rates is one of the main things that the Fed is actually able to do. They set monetary policy. So look, Donald Trump's like, no, you don't you dare raise interest rates. It makes my economy look bad. But your economy is basically running on a sugar high of tax cuts for the rich. So that's not the way to actually have a good expansive economy. If you actually invest in workers and people, and they go out and spend money, that creates jobs, et cetera, right? So now Herman Cain's, look, he got famous back in 2012 for some of his ridiculous policies, and I'm going to go through that in a second. But first, just one quick sentence here from Senator Sherrod Brown saying, quote, of this appointment, I thought it was a joke at first. Oh, no, it's a joke, all right. At least to everyone else. I mean, it's Herman freaking Cain. So now let's get into the policy, right? If you can actually call it actual decent policy. Now, he had introduced a policy proposal back in 2012 called the 999 Plan, which, of course, immediately makes me think of the scene in Inglourious Bastards where you had the guy playing Hitler screaming out, 999! I love that. So, but anyway, that plan would have eliminated the tax system entirely, stripped it out, and replaced it with a 9% personal income tax, a 9% corporate income tax, and a 9% national sales tax. It's a pure flat tax, right? So now, that did not go over well with economists who called it, quote, the most massively regressive redistribution of taxes ever seriously considered. And look, I think the only person seriously considering it was Herman Cain. They warned that this would be a, quote, huge tax increase on most Americans, but a huge tax cut for the wealthy. Gee, what a shocker. Another plan that helps the rich, and only the rich, at the expense of the middle class. Now, Herman Cain also produced a 6-minute video called 999 the Movie, Slaying the Tax Monster. He also released some pretty ridiculous ads, including a smoking ad, which was weird, where this is like campaign manager or whatever, smoking a cigarette and talking about how, I don't know, great Herman Cain was. And then there was the creepy smile. But I think he's best known probably for this.
It is clear from the discussion tonight that America needs a leader and a uniter. I represent growth. All of the issues that we talk about, if we don't get this economic engine moving by putting fuel in the engine, all of the rest of it won't matter. A poet once said, life can be a challenge. Life can seem impossible. But it's never easy when there's so much on the line. We have a lot on the line. Send Washington a message and send a business problem solver to Washington, D.C.
Holy crap. A poet once said, no, it wasn't a poet. It was literally Pokemon. He was reading Pokemon. That's the guy that Trump says, no, that's my guy. He's a genius. Terrific guy. Tremendous. More. We also have this fun exchange between Herman Cain and conservative reporter David Brody. And it's about the president of Uzbekistan.
Are you ready for the gotcha questions? They're coming from the media and others on foreign policy. Who's the president of Uzbekistan? All of this stuff. It's coming.
Yes.
And how are you dealing with that?
I'm ready for the gotcha questions, and they are already starting to come. And when they ask me who's the president of Uzbekistan, I'm going to say, I don't know. Do you know?
Uzbekistan. And hey, you know what? I actually do know. Currently, you want to know who the president of Uzbekistan is? It's actually Shavkat Mirziyoyev, right? So that's the current president. Now, back when they asked that back in 2012, it was actually Islam Karimov, which actually has a much easier name to say than the current president of Uzbekistan. But anyway, you know what? That would have taken him about 2 seconds to look up. You see, there's this thing called Google where you can look up facts and information. I know, it's crazy, right? But look, okay, you can't look it up on the spot, I understand, in the interview. But maybe what you could have said is like, hey, look, I actually don't know, right? But I'm going to get with my staff, and I'm going to start learning about this stuff. I'm going to find out, what all the relevant leaders are that we're dealing with. And, I'm gonna try to represent America to the best of our ability, and it's a learning experience. And here's what I'm gonna try to do: I'm gonna learn the most that I can, but my focus also will primarily be on business. But I will surround myself with great people. Oh my God, I'm sounding like Donald Trump here. I'll surround myself with really smart people, advisors that will help me to learn this stuff, so that I know what's going on, so that I can lead America the best that I can. Okay, that's better. That's better than, I don't know. Do you know? But again, he's not a smart person, which is likely why Donald Trump says, "Oh no, that's my guy, Herman Cain." Oh yeah. Also, he's also alleged to have been, to have sexually harassed 2 female employees when he was president of the NRA. Now that was National Restaurant Association. Now Cain, when he was hit with those allegations, was first like, I am unaware that we had any sort of settlement with these women when it comes to sexual harassment. Survey says that's false. And then later on, when called out, he's like, well, yeah, that did happen, and I knew about the settlements. And then, afterwards, said the whole thing was a witch hunt. Witch hunt. Now, does that not sound familiar? If you want any more proof of why Trump told reporters that Cain is, quote, somebody that just gets it, I don't think I could provide anything better. Hilarious. Okay. Herman freaking Cain. What is going on? Mitt Romney, Herman Cain, Newt Gingrich, they're all back. And it's just insanity. All right. Anyway, before I go, I have a couple super chats here that I want to read. So don't forget. Jedi Mullet 77 says, take this 20, go to Amazon Video and watch the documentary Pump. It's about fuel choices we have to break up the oil monopoly. That sounds fascinating. Awesome. Thank you. So I suggest everybody watches that to see what we can do to get away from oil. And finally, Jedi Mullet also says 999 is just 666 upside down. Good point. All right. Anyway, so that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for going around the nation. Please like and share if you haven't already. Members get the full show free, so sign up to become a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation if you want to have full access to the full show ad-free. So whenever you'd like to watch it. All right, guys. Thank you all. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.